Right. So remember that you have to take control of something, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to do a brainstorming exercise. You once told me your favorite car is a BMW X5, right?
Oh yeah.
So we're not going to do a case about a BMW X5. We do a case about a Porsche now, right?
Okay.
Which I'm sure is your other favorite car as well.
Mm.
Let's brainstorm how Porsche could increase their margins.
So when we're talking about margin, could you tell me what kind of margin exactly we're talking about?
Profit margin.
Okay.
The profit margin on an individual Porsche.
Okay. Um, okay, so the profit margin, just to be sure, is the net income divided by the revenue.
No.
Am I correct?
The profit margin on an individual product is different. How do you raise the margin on the product, on the sale of one product?
Well, you either lower the costs or increase well, it has to be with the price of the final product
Yeah.
and the costs you have to make it.
Good.
You
That is
take care.
correct, right? That's what I want you to focus on.
Okay. Okay, so this I'm going to try to do it right away. Okay. So question is how Porsche can increase their margin on individual cars. Well, I mean their margin on each car. So as we see, there are two ways of having an effect on the margin. So the first way is to increase the price, to have an action on the price, and the second would have to be to have an action on the cost side. So if no, I have to prioritize one of those two levers. So Porsche is a very expensive car maker. So I would assume that people are actually ready to pay for that car, and the market is quite attracted to that. So I would think that increasing the price in a luxury market, which is, I would have a hypothesis here that is that luxury market are quite price insensitive, so they can accept to have high increase in price to have and they're actually driven the increase in price. So I would assume that increasing the price of a Porsche would be a first way a good way to increase the margins. So in ways to increase the price, there would be different strategies here for the company to manage to increase the price. The first one would be to expand their portfolio with a new car that would be sold at a much higher cost than another one. A second way to increase the price would be to just increase the price in existing portfolio of car. And let me think if I see another way to increase the price. They could also play on the volume of production. What I mean here is that if the company decides they would produce less car, they could sell it for a much higher price.
Okay.
Whatever the brand of the car is, it's the scarcity kind of principle. So I would assume that the company is quite healthy and that they can actually launch a new model that would tackle that would have a price higher than their current model with the same price, the same costs. So I would have this as a priority, where the company can launch a new model on a new car model and develop something that would target, I can't say higher, but the one that wins the most, the exclusive models for the big, and try to market it for higher revenue.
Okay, so let me stop here, right?
Yes.
The way you said yes implies you didn't think you did a good job, right?
Yes.
So now the observation here is that you got to remember that I should not have the ability
To guess.
to know what you mean when you say words.
Right.
The mere fact that I can do that means there is a communication issue.
Yeah.
That's
right.
the fundamental thing we're trying to deal with, right? And we're now in a position. Well, I'll give you feedback at the end, but I'll give you feedback on two things. I want to give it at the end so you don't forget it, right?
Okay.
I don't want to repeat things. It's not that. Let's see. Okay, let's focus on this case, right? I think obviously you started off again incorrectly with the wrong definition.
Yeah.
Because I was very specific to say an individual Porsche car, right? Not the company margin. The definition you gave was for the company,
Yes.
not for an individual car. So you have to be very wary of that, right?
Yeah.
Because when you get things wrong at the beginning, it kind of hurts your credibility a little bit, not much.
Okay.
But it hurts your credibility more than the average person because you take those things personally. So if I get something wrong, I don't really care. I move on, right?
Yeah.
But it
I
affects you.
already. Yeah.
So that's why I try to minimize your mistakes at the beginning. You identified, you did a couple of things very well. Yeah, you identified that, it's the price and cost. You went with price or cost. I would be okay with both, but I'll talk you through the economics of luxury cars in a minute.
Okay.
You went with prices, and then you started breaking down the drivers, and you mentioned that Porsche is a luxury car, and because it's a luxury car, it's price insensitive, so you can raise the price as much as you want, right? Yeah, but there's a problem with that logic, because while Porsche is a luxury car, it has competitors.
True.
So you can raise the Porsche's price as much as you want, provided that the switching cost to a competitor doesn't become low then. I don't know what a Porsche's competitor is, but I would guess, who competes with Porsche? Bentley, maybe?
Lamborghini?
No, I wouldn't say Lamborghini. That's ultra high-end sports cars, right?
Really? Oh, then I don't know. I don't know much about cars.
Yeah, but so that's the point I was going to make. So there's two issues you got to remember. So imagine when it comes to pricing, you've got what is known as a vertical limit, and you have what is known as a horizontal limit. The horizontal limit are your direct competitors.
Okay.
You can only increase your price as long as you don't make competitors more attractive. Because at a certain price, you wouldn't buy a Porsche if you don't think it is worth the price they are charging, right? You'll just say, oh, let me buy this other car. Maybe it's a Bentley. I don't know much about luxury cars. I don't know much about cars, right? I'm that bad.
Yeah.
So my point is, I don't know much about cars, but there are competitors to Porsche, right? As much as Porsche would like to think they have no competitors, they are competitors. When someone is paying whatever the price costs, $80,000 for a bottom-of-the-range Porsche Cayenne, the SUVs that his mom's like driving,
Yes.
they're not going to want to pay $100,000 because $20,000 is a lot of money. It's 20,000 euros. So when you increase the price by 20,000 euros, these moms are going to say, but why should I spend 20,000 euros when I could buy another luxury SUV, like maybe a Mercedes, right? Which I think a Mercedes and BMW and Audi would be competitors in that level, right?
I guess, yeah.
So those are what we call
Horizontal
competitors. They compete on the same plane. Then we have what is known as a vertical competitor. When you increase Porsche's price to a certain level, you take it out of its current category and start competing with a new category.
Yes.
Now, I don't know, again, much about cars, but I believe, what's this famous car company? Not Aston Martin. Is it Aston Martin? I think Aston Martin or someone is launching a new SUV. I think Lamborghini is also launching an SUV, right? And they would price themselves at a level above. So Lamborghini, Ferrari are priced above Porsche. They're regarded as more luxurious cars, right? So if Porsche now keeps on raising its price, it now starts competing with Lamborghinis, right?
Yeah.
Someone looking at a Lamborghini and a Porsche are going to say, why should I pay this amount for a Porsche when I could buy a Lamborghini?
Yeah.
You see? So
That's
you
understand.
you are correct. A luxury brand has more pricing ability than a normal brand, but it's constrained by the competitors and by the category of luxury it's in. Because as soon as you price it too high, you start switching categories.
True.
And the comparisons become very different, right? So Porsche is boxed in. It like to think it can price itself to whatever level it wants, but if it increases the prices, it's going to increase the perceived, not value, but perceived quality or luxuriousness of the car.
True.
It's the same reason why Lexus couldn't go crazy on its pricing, right? No one is going to pay the same amount of price for a Lexus SUV versus a top-of-the-range Mercedes SUV. I don't know what the differences are between the cars, but the market seems to think there's a difference.
Okay.
You see that?
I see. I understand.
Vertical and horizontal pricing locks in luxury brands.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah? Now, costs for luxury brands are actually quite heavy. Do you know why costs are so heavy for them?
I would guess that most of those brands in luxury, they have heavy labor costs, as they have some savoir-faire know-how that is precisely from heavy cost countries like Italy, like so that can be a big reason.
Yeah, you're
why.
right there. That's correct. Labor costs are high because luxury SUVs and luxury cars are generally made in Italy, Germany, the UK, I think, also makes luxury SUVs and so on, right? So your labor costs tend to be high, but there's other issues here. Now, you notice we're talking about luxury cars and not luxury handbags, right?
Yes.
Luxury cars spend a lot of money automating processes. They are just as automated. In fact, they are probably more automated than non-luxury vehicles.
Okay.
A lot of effort goes into R&D is a big cost for luxury vehicles.
Oh.
And second, they spend a lot of money automating key processes. Materials are also more expensive.
Of course, yeah.
They would buy better. You would hope they would buy better. They would take more time to vet their suppliers, go through more quality assurance, go through more testing. So the cost side of a luxury operation for cars is very high. When you go in to do turnarounds for luxury companies, you automatically look at costs usually first.
Yes, okay.
But this is not a turnaround, right? This is just trying to raise their margins.
Yeah.
The reason why you'd go and look at price is because price is a long-term margin change. You can cut your costs in the short term, but whatever savings you get on cutting your costs, you'd reinvest it in R&D. So it's a transient cost reduction.
Okay.
So you don't actually cut your costs. You simply reposition your costs from non-essential expenditure to essential R&D expenditure. So you don't actually see a cost cut, but you see a reallocation of costs. So there's no cost cuts.
Okay.
That is why cost cutting in luxury brands is important, but it's more reallocation. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've driven BMWs and so on, right?
No, I've been in it.
You've seen the difference, right?
I've seen it, yeah.
It's a very different experience. I mean, there are many different luxury brands. I'm using these because they are well known, but the experience feels different. A lot of research goes into all of those things.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes.
Now, there's one other thing you've got to understand about luxury cars versus any other luxury industry. In a lot of other luxury industries, when something is more luxurious, it usually offers less. Like, for example, if you are buying the most expensive facial cream like La Mer, right? If you used a La Mer, it's this horribly expensive.
I don't know that brand.
Anyway, so it's really expensive. What they normally do in other luxury categories is they offer less, but they specialize in one thing.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with luxury vehicles, you can't cut on the sound system, right? You can't skimp on the braking.
Of course not.
You can't skimp on anything. People expect everything in a luxury car.
Yes.
The barrier to entry is enormously high.
Yeah.
It's also highly regulated.
Okay.
Anything that's highly regulated means the government does not trust you because you'll kill someone. And therefore, the cost of playing in that sector is very high.
Yeah.
So while your thinking on luxury brands was good, it wasn't deep enough for me.
Okay.
You did not infer enough about this. You didn't have to know anything about luxury, because I probably know less about cars than you do. I know that's hard to understand, but it is actually probably true, right?
Probably.
Have you ever changed a tire on a car?
Sorry?
Have you ever changed the tire on a car?
No.
Okay, then we're at least equal in that one regard, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So brainstorming, communication was not good. You got the question wrong. I need you to be more focused on these basic things.
Okay.
And don't give away what you are thinking. See, the issue here is that you are basically quitting. When you decide to communicate in that way, you're basically signaling to me you don't mind what I think about you because you've given up.
Okay.
Don't quit. right?
Yep.
And that's actually what you are doing when you do that, right? So be very wary of that.
Okay.
And that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing the episode. Finally, I want you to remember that the only way to get access to our special offers, the only way to get our special pricing, and the only way to get samples of our content is to join the list on firmsconsulting.com. It's the only way also to get access to our unique advanced content that we make available to insiders. So if you want to get a sneak peek of things, test it out, see what's in there, this is the place to go. And finally, I want to thank you again for making us one of the largest podcast channels around the world for careers and for the 2 million downloads and counting.